Story 1, The Ultimate Betrayal. My husband slept with my niece during my business trip. How do I cope with the pain and betrayal caused by this? This niece is my brother's daughter and she is 23. For more than a year I felt she is looking way too much at my husband, 40, but my mind couldn't accept this and I told myself I am crazy. I know she admires him, she is very vocal about it. I didn't do anything because I never saw anything suspicious on his side. My brother is a loser, to be frank, and a stupid excuse of a father. Drinks, gambles, and usually unemployed. My husband collects him frequently from hospital and pays for the medicine he has for liver. A lot of times when my niece was still a child I took care of her, cooked for her, got her ready for school. Her mother left with someone else and she abandoned her with her father. My husband is the complete opposite of him. He takes care of his appearance, has successful business, 45 employees. She looks up to him and said she learned a lot from him about how a business work. When the line was really crossed was when one day she insisted to iron his suit. He always wears suits and ties and she wanted to prepare it for him. I was very busy with my 7-year-old daughter who had a hard time getting used to the new school and I let it pass. A very stressful period for me. And she helped. I told her I will just order food every day, but she wanted to be useful, so she said. She cooked what he liked to eat, never asked what we want, just what he wants. And 3 days ago I found out he slept with her while I was away on business trip. I let my daughter with them in the house. But he took her to my mother. I actually got an anonymous text, which turned out to be from a friend of hers. I hoped it's stupid joke. But I told him I know he slept with her and he started apologizing and explaining that it happened just once, that they had wine and it happened. I don't know what to do now. Edit. We'll add this to my post. Another reason why I think he didn't groom her was that this is not the first time she sleeps with a married man. She did it last year too. I had a talk with her back then and she was very proud of what she'd done. She wasn't looking for love, she just fancied the idea to sleep with a man in power. That man was also with high social status and in military. It's her thing. She sees these kind of men as superior and worthy. She never gave any chance to a guy her age and she looked down on them. She is not like a lot of modern young women who want to be independent and strong. She knows she is beautiful and is playing the beauty card. She is extremely feminine to the point that even her voice is always soft and low, like she wants to appear submissive and good girl. She never went clubbing, for example, because good girls don't do that. Doesn't want a driver license because she feels it's masculine to drive a car. I have an update. My mother tried to talk to her again and Anastasia, my niece, told her that she hates me and she hated me for years. That I have everything and didn't have to work for it, that she was left behind by her mother, was pitted, and even mocked at school, by others because she has a loser drunk father. While I had a perfect life, a perfect career and a perfect husband. I was envied and admired, she was shamed and pitted. I also needed to return home because it will affect me in court if I don't allow my husband to see his daughter. I found a mess in my bedroom. My husband was cleaning it up with my mother. Anastasia threw out all my stuff from the closet and wanted to put hers there. Mother said that my husband needed to grab her hands and immobilize her because she acted crazy. Hit him and in the end he also hit her to stop her from scratching and kicking. My mother confirmed. She did attack her. My husband called a doctor to give her something to calm her and this worked. He begs me to forgive him. He was always the arrogant, confident man who was being begged for one thing or another by people around him. I never seen him so ruined. My mother cried and told me this is not the first time she attacks her when angry, but she never did anything about it because the girl suffered enough and having something like that on her record might hurt her future even more. Also, my brother continues to be a total piece of, and asked my husband if he will give him more money because of this. It almost sounds like he wants her to be a prostitute. Okay, maybe it's too much, but it def goes that way. I just want to stop talking to all of them. I think I am allowed to post this, as it's been 3 days since my original post. However, after this, in order to respect the rules of this sub that helped me cope so much, I will stick to my own profile with possible updates. I had a talk with my husband. He said he didn't think she was that unstable. Great, so you fucked her because you thought she is stable. How does that help? She wants him. I already blocked her number but she still texted me from some new one that I blocked too. How we all call her crazy, but it's the crazy who makes sex interesting and he will come for more. I really cannot believe this is my niece. She said how she deserves him more than I do, that I don't deserve a man like him, that I deserve one like her father. My mother is in a sensitive situation now. She said that the girl was hysterical with both of them, her and my husband. Neither wanted to call the police because that would lead to so many questions about what happened between them. He doesn't want his associates to find out, and my mother, well, it's still her granddaughter and she didn't want to cause her problems. This is why my husband in the end slapped her so bad that it threw her to the floor. But it calmed her down because she got scared and covered her face in fear. He literally told her that if she doesn't get out from the house he will slap her again. It really felt like, I know this from my mother, only physical force, or rather the threat of being beaten/slapped by him, made her to take a step back. My brother is drinking as nothing matters to him, and even asked my brother if he can give him more money because of this, and in a sick way above it all. Not like, because of what you done, more like, because you got to f*ck my daughter. It's almost like he feels that his daughter sleeping with my husband was a way to get under my husband's skin or show that he is thankful. This is all in my head. No one confirmed me this hypothesis, but these are the vibes I get from him. I even speculated whether my brother knew about what she is doing. You suspected my mother, but I bet she didn't. She is a broken woman because of her son being such a waste of space, but she has always been very open with me about everything. Story 2, my sister is seeing a married man and I got beaten because of her. I have no idea where my idiot sister is because she went on vacation with her friends. All I know is that I'm going to pull her hair out when I see her. My sister and I go to the same university. Although we are only 3 years apart, we are almost identical and people always confuse us for twins. And today I suffered because of that resemblance we have, because as soon as I left my university to go to my car, a lady threw herself on me to start dragging me by the hair while she was yelling at me a lot of things and insults. My pure instinct, I also began to fight. Honestly, at that moment I thought that some homeless person had an attack of dementia or something. I pulled her by the hair until my friends separated her from me. The woman was crying, and behind her there were 2 more women who were with her and arguing with my friends. The woman was yelling at me that I am her husband's slut, and I didn't understand anything about what was happening, but at that moment my mind clicked because I know that my sister is dating with an older man. She doesn't tell me much about him, but she shows me the gifts he gives her. I told the woman that she was looking for my sister. Basically the people who were with her yelled at me that I must be just as slutty as my sister. I'm not, I think, and tried to fight again, but the police approached us and it was all too messy. Now my scalp is full of scratches, my back is scraped by the asphalt, and my hair hurts too much. And my sister doesn't answer my calls to explain what the hell she did before I tell my mother what happened. I know that if I tell my parents about this, they might even stop paying for my sister's educational, because it's not the first time she does something like this. I'm going to tell them. Yes, but first I need to talk with my sister. The humiliation of having been beaten up at my university for something I didn't do is too bog. It gives me chills to think about coming back on Monday and that the people who saw us believe that I am to blame for that when my sister was the culprit. Poor woman, I do feel empathy for her, but I didn't deserve that beating. My sister is not a good person at all, so it's easy to see her in a situation like this. At least she should have asked my name before that. Edit. Yes, we ended up at the police station and I filed charges against her, even though she apologized to me a lot once she calmed down a little bit. To be honest, her friends were worse than her in the sense of wanting to keep fighting when it was all over, but anyway, that doesn't justify that the fool hit the wrong person. For now I'm just going to wait for my sister to come back because I want to say everything with her present so that she can't run away from her parents. It's not the first time my sister has messed with a married man. Hi, my sister came back from her vacations a few days ago. I waited for her to come back because I didn't want her to run away from telling our parents what happened, and I wanted her to be the one to tell them everything. My sister lives with our parents. No, she's not a teenager, she's almost 30. I don't know why someone in the comments said that she was suffering from grooming when she's 28. There's even plus 40 years old people in college, and anyways you need to be an adult to be there, so when she arrived I was already there. When my parents asked me what the hell happened to me, I told them to wait for my sister to come to talk about it, so they already knew that this was about her. Many people don't understand that there are people who likes to be the second and enjoy feeling that they can sleep with anyone, even with a forbidden one, and my sister is that type of person. Since she was a teenager she flirted with her friends' boyfriends. She did it to measure her value with others, but she never flirted with any of my boyfriends. At least she has her limits. Now that she is older she likes to sleep with married mans. For her it is better to receive gifts and fun without the pressure of being the wife. Her words, we discussed this many times. At the end of the day it's all in self-esteem and ego problem that my sister has. She needs to know that she can get whatever she wants. Anyway, A few days ago, the cheating man had sent a message to my sister telling her that his wife beat him and kicked him out of the house after she found out about his affair with my sister. The woman found my sister's IG and sent her messages telling her to stay away from her family because apparently the men took their kids to some of the dates with my sister, and my sister, who is a big idiot, followed the fight with the woman insulting her. She showed me the chat and was clearly encouraging the woman to fight, calling her names, etc., and that's how I ended up getting beaten. According to my sister, she didn't believe that the woman was really going to hit her, but then I started to message her and she basically ignored me because didn't wanted to get that kind of stress and also because she knew she screwed up. Honestly, so many comments told me that my sister was not to blame for anything that I began to believe it, until I saw the messages she sent to that woman almost begging for a beating, and I stopped feeling any kind of empathy for her. She's not a good person and never was. I was furious, but my mother was even more angry. It is not the first time that my family has been affected because of her sexual adventures. This time we did not lose money or friends, but I was physically attacked, which is worse. My sister justified herself by saying that she is single and has no responsibility for any marriage, but my mother told her that we all suffer because of her problematic behavior and that morally she's helping to ruin the lives of many because of her ego. It all ended with my sister throwing a tantrum like always and even blaming me for looking like her, but this time my father kicked her out of the house with her things. I found it a little sad that my own parents apologized to me for their adult daughter's behavior. In the end of the day, I feel sad to see my parents and other people because of her behavior. And about the woman, she contacted me the next day I got beaten and was really sorry. She said she would pay for any medical expenses, but I'm fine. She sounded much calmer without her friends and told me that she had never done anything like that, but she felt a very strong hatred for my sister and her ex because of how they talked about her with the children. Although she sounded really regretful, a large part of me wanted her to kick my sister's ass, but that's not going to happen. Even if that doesn't make me a good person, I would have liked to see that. I'm sorry for the boring update. But not much happened except that she didn't send me a message or anything like that. Anyways, I just pray that my parents still don't talk to her so I can see her as little as possible. Story 3, my husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, F41, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, M48, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Eric has a girlfriend, F18, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. Update posted 1 day ago, March 25, 2024. Update. I am divorcing my husband. I told my kids and I spoke with Amy's mom. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk, it was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic/physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty, he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening, he kept yelling the word context over and over again and that, none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity, nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry, she's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Newest update. Second update 44 minutes ago, March 27, 2024. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now, he seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slime ball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though. Update 3 posted yesterday, April 9, 2024. Update number 3, divorce is underway, Eric seeing a therapist routinely and Paul/Amy meeting up again. The support, again, has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative/accusatory/harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere, claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believe that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all, coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie, I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine, I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing to post is because of those of you who've sent me love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order, Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this, even though I have to be vague right now. Justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy, despite her mother trying to force her not to see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mother is in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she has threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days where Amy would just be gone for hours on end. There's only so much I could do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more shit hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Story 4. I think I'm watching my husband cheat on me in real time. I think I'm watching my husband cheat on me in real time. I, F33, have been married to my husband, M33, for 3 years now, been together for 7. The first year we were together we lived 3 hours away from each other, and one weekend while I was at his place I had found out he cheated on me. We worked through it, he moved in with me and we've been pretty good ever since. I like to think we have a relatively strong marriage, or at least I did. Last week he told me he had to go away this week for work. His best friend back home is having some pretty serious mental health issues and can no longer be allowed to use power tools. However, he was in the middle of a building project that needs to get done, so said friend's dad hired my husband to finish the job with him, so it's like a work trip but also not a work trip I guess. He told me he was leaving Tuesday and would be back Friday. Since he left, I haven't spoken to him for more than 5 minutes at a time. Usually when he's away for work he's calling me 5 times a day, which I thought was weird but just assumed he was busy hanging out. Tonight, technically last night, so Wednesday, he once again only calls me for 10 minutes, and tells me that not only is he now staying until Sunday, even though he sent me pictures of the job I've done already, but that he's going to get his car looked at, which is why he can't talk long because he worked late and still has to take the car in. When I asked him where he was taking the car to get fixed so late, it was almost 10 o'clock at this point, and he said he had a buddy next town over an hour away, that was gonna take a look at it tonight, give him a quote and get parts and get it fixed Thursday. Huge red flags now, because if he was going to a friend's house he always tells me who, it's never just a buddy. And as his wife, I know he only has 2 friends that still live in that town, and neither of them know shit about cars. We have a tracking app that we use for us and our kids' phones, so I decided to look on that. He got there at midnight. It's now 3 a.m., and he's still there, and it's neither of said friends' houses. I just know. My gut is just screaming that this is exactly what I think it is, and I'm sick to my stomach. My best friend is asleep and she's all I have, and I just had to get this off my chest before I explode. Update. He stayed until 6:30 this morning, called me at 7:30 while still on the road pretending to be just waking up. I don't think he understands how our app works, said that his car couldn't get fixed because parts are seized, still never mentioned what friend, he pretty much just proved it to me there. I appreciate all your kind words and advice. I'm broken, so forgive me if I don't answer replies, just know I appreciate it. Update 2, answering questions. Now that I've had most of a day to really think about everything, and had a good talk with my best friend about it as well, this is where we're at. When he called me this morning, I was making coffee. I told him I was making coffee, and he said, "Ooh, coffee. I should go get some of that. I just woke up and I haven't gotten a chance yet, except when he left this morning. He went to the closest coffee shop before he left town, so again, another lie." And to answer the recurring question of, why are you tracking him if you trust him, the answer is I'm not. Well, I wasn't before now, lol. We got the app last week when our kids started walking to school on their own, so we could see they were getting home safe. In turn, they can see where we are when we're out of the house. I didn't force him to get a tracking app, and it wasn't to catch him doing anything, although it did kinda work out that way, I guess. So the story he gave me was he went over there for his buddy. He finally gave me a name, let's call him John. And I know of John, but have never met him in person, which is why I think he thinks he's a good patsy, to fix something on his car. He said they couldn't get it unstuck with home tools, so he came home. But John's a mechanic, so he's gonna talk to his boss today and see if he'll allow them to come in after hours tonight to fix it in the shop, and he was just waiting on confirmation of that, and a quote for parts. Now here's the problem. Although John is a mechanic, John doesn't work nor live in the city he was in last night. And as soon as he said, quote for parts, I realized that means he doesn't have the parts yet. Which means if his story were true, they would have been taking apart the car with no parts to put it back together, which makes zero sense. And that's what put it all together for me. That, and while I was on the phone with him, his best friend woke up and asked him if he was just getting in from last night, and I literally listened to him stumble to come up with an answer because he knew I could hear him. That one cut deep. But he said no, I came home last night, surprised you didn't hear me. Lied to his best friend too, which is super suspicious. I have, both from reading these comments and talking with friends, decided that I'm going to keep it low and cool. I'm not going to confront him, because I don't see a point. He's either going to deny it, flip it, or admit it and beg for forgiveness, and honestly, I don't want to deal with any of that right now. What I need to do is get my ducks in a row to get out, so that's what the plan is going forward. I feel humiliated. I feel stupid AF. But above all else, I'm pissed. Pissed at him, pissed at me. Just, pissed TF off. And to everyone who asked why I didn't leave the first time, I'm not even gonna be mad about it. It's a valid question. And the answer is that he put in the work to prove it was a mistake. I had never been cheated on before, and I was naive. We went through therapy, and a lot of work, and he put in all the effort I ever asked for to prove that this is what he really wanted. He really fooled me. So yeah, y'all are right. I should have had more self-respect then. I should have known, and I didn't, and I'll be the first to admit now that I'm an idiot, and I'll be sure to use it as a life lesson going forward. Update, 4 days later. Hey y'all, a lot of people have been asking for an update, so here we go. Go see previous post, to catch up to this point. So he finally came home Saturday night. I had spent the entire week gathering the information I need for divorce, but what I really needed for myself was proof. Proof that this was anything other than what I think it was. Proof that I was crazy for ever thinking he would do this to me. Instead, I found her. He claims he went over to her house but never actually slept with her. Her entertained her, but never slept with her. Spent the night, but didn't sleep with her. And I just couldn't believe that. He told me he only entertained her because she made it easy to give her attention. And that's when I walked out. I spent the day with my bestie. Drank, a lot. And I decided for my own closure, I needed to know if he really did sleep with her. One way or another, he took off his ring and walked into that house, so I was done, but for my own peace of mind, I needed to know the truth, and wasn't going to get it from him. I found her number in his phone the night he got home, so I just called her. Turns out he lied about being married, obviously, and took advantage of a poor girl who had recently gotten out of an abusive relationship and finally put her trust into someone again. He did sleep with her. Even left her his shirt because he wouldn't be back for 2 weeks. Yes, he was planning on going back if I didn't find out. He made this poor girl think he loved her, and I'm disgusted. He hurt so many people with this shit. So here we are. I'm officially a 33 years old single mom, terrified of life ahead. I haven't eaten in days. My body has been in fight or flight for so long now that I'm currently sitting at the hospital hoping someone can help me reset it so I can finally sleep for once this week and my heart can have a break. I'm a mess to say the least. But I seriously want to thank everyone for the advice and kind words. This is a literal nightmare that I feel like I can't wake up from, and the sweet messages really help, so thank you all again. Here's to hoping it gets better. Story 4, AITA for not finding in me the strength to forgive my cheating husband. AITA for not finding in me the strength to forgive my husband who cheated with her. Sorry in advance if I misspell or get the wrong words, but English is not my first language, I am Italian. This is the situation. I, F31, have been with my husband, M42, for more than 10 years now, 5 of which married. We had baby recently, she is just 2 months old, and we both love her with all our hearts. I had a pretty rough pregnancy, most of which I had to spend with my family because I needed assistance even to use the bathroom and he couldn't provide it, since he works all day till 6:30 p.m. The delivery was even tougher and the doctors had to give me a lot of stitches, thing that really made the postpartum a lot harder for me, but I managed with the help of my parents and sister. He's been really supportive too. The thing is, it's been almost a year since the last time we were intimate, because my doctor suggested to take it easy since the recovery would be slow, and he was right. He's been joking about it, saying he had to use his hand, and things like this. Before pregnancy we had a very spicy bedroom life. I've always had a really strong sexual drive and he really much appreciated it, but now I feel like what happened it's my fault. Last week I went out with my daughter and a friend of mine. It wasn't planned, she surprised me and I gladly accepted. I wanted a change of scenario and it's been a while since the last time I went out. We were drinking a coffee in a pretty bar where we always go when I see her. She hasn't been around for a long time and I was surprised to see her, but she was there. To make it short, she's about my age and they had a sort of relationship before I was in the picture. Not a proper relationship, but they slept together for about 6 months before her found out she was sleeping with his best friend as well, but they kept being friends, not as close as before. Then she went to live abroad and periodically came back to visit her family. A few years ago when we were just dating, she came with my BIL to my husband's family's vacation home and didn't even bother to greet me, just smirked smugly at me, so my husband ignored her and came with me. My BIL then told me he'd told her that my husband was serious about me and to not stir any trouble, and she said she wasn't there for my husband but for him and proceeded to sleep with him. Then we would casually see her when she came to visit her family. Once she didn't see me next to my husband and tried to greet him, just to run away when she noticed me. WTF. Then my BIL died because of a car accident, and we still mourn him. He was my best friend and I loved him dearly. Imagine what my husband had to go through. And she sent my husband a text where she told him how much she cared about him and his parents and she was sorry and wanted to talk to him. My husband didn't reply, asked me to delete the message after we argued a little about her lack of boundaries, but I felt guilty to bring it up at a moment like that. Anyway, she then disappeared and I found out she was fighting against cancer for mutual friends and I honestly felt bad for her. When I saw her last week, a feeling of uneasiness took a hold of me. I don't know why, I felt something was wrong but I thought I was being paranoid. Then my husband's best friend, the one she'd slept with years ago, told me to check my husband's phone and that he was sorry but he thought I deserved to know. Well, I did and found nothing, so asked him to tell me what was wrong. Long story short, on New Year's Eve, while I was at home with our daughter and our families and he went out to greet a couple of friends, he met her casually and told our friend he made a mistake and they had a quickie in her car before he came back home. Our friend showed me the texts and my heart broke. I waited a few days to talk to him. He cried and told me he made a mistake but he never saw her after that evening, and he wanted to tell me but he was scared and all the things cheaters say when they get caught. I know I neglected him but it wasn't my fault. He asked for forgiveness and told me he would do anything but I can't find in me the strength to forgive him. Then I think about my innocent daughter and wonder if I should make an effort. Nobody knows, not my family nor his, not our friends, except for the one who told me about all this and he thinks I should leave him, that he has no excuse for what he did. He himself has a toddler now so he knows what he's talking about. I care deeply for my husband. I don't want to tell anyone what happened because I don't want our family and friends to hate him or look at him differently, but I can't stay with him. It's something I can't find the strength to do. He knew what I think about cheating, he knew I was insecure about her, he knew this would kill me. I feel disgusted. He came home that night as if nothing had happened. How could he do this to us? To my daughter in the first place. I still love and care for him but I can't go on. I'm moving back at my parents' house tonight, telling them I need some help with the baby. I want nothing from him, not the house, it would remind me of him, not his money, nothing. I will never stop him from being the wonderful dad I know he will be. I'll do my best to have a good relationship with him as co-parents but that's all I can do. I would never trust him again and I feel like any romantic feelings I felt for him died the moment I found out the truth. He says I'm not trying to fix things up, but why should I fix something I didn't break? He isn't taking this well, but he's not making it too hard on me either, saying he understands how betrayed I may feel but to at least think it thoroughly before ending things definitively. Am I the wrong one? I feel this strong urge to confront her, but I rationally know it's not her fault that he couldn't keep it in his pants. What should I do? Update. Yesterday evening, before my father came for me and my daughter, my future ex-husband asked me to stay, to not leave so soon, to give him a chance to explain everything. Useless to say, I couldn't do that. I need time to think, to process all that has happened and understand how I want to proceed from this. He cried a lot and we hugged. I thought I would be heartbroken, but I mainly felt numb. I think I couldn't believe him even if he tried to be completely honest. He said it was just a drunken mistake, that he felt disgusted as soon as he came, that alcohol and abstinence made his head empty and, she was just a CM bucket for him. He realized what he had done just after the deed was done. I told him it was a little late, that it's easy now to say it meant nothing and it was a mistake. It meant nothing, yet he fused her. He knew she had one thing in mind and he should have left that damn pub when she appeared. Instead he greeted her and they also drank together. He told me they weren't alone but other friends were there drinking with them, so he thought it was okay. No honey, it wasn't okay for you to drink with a woman you knew that has always hated me, that has been trying to f***ck you during our entire relationship. And when she asked you to go out and smoke with her, you should have said no. And when she asked you to get in the car with her, you should have laughed in her face and leave her there standing like the w**** she is. Instead, you went along with all that and ended up between her legs. I told him all this. He said I was right. Yeah, sure. It's useless now. He did it, and that's all that counts. When my dad came, we acted as if he hadn't just broken our marriage. He hugged me, a little longer than necessary, taking advantage of the fact that my father didn't know, and kissed the baby a lot, with tears in his eyes. My father, being the ex-cop he is, asked me how we were doing and if it was everything all right. I reassured him and tried my best not to burst out crying in front of him during the 20 minutes trip to his house. When we got there, a look from my mother and she realized I wasn't okay, but they didn't ask, so I went into my old room and fell asleep with my baby smiling at me. I didn't cry even though I thought I would. I just felt angry and disappointed. This morning I woke up to my sister and Bill waiting for me in the kitchen. They live 2 blocks away from my parents. We've always been a very close family and my sister is also my best friend, so she told me she wanted to know what had happened because it was clear I was being weird, and I told her everything, since everyone here suggested that I share this situation with the closest people to me. She was obviously livid and wanted to call him and break all hell loose, but ended up respecting my wish to wait a little longer. We hugged and cried, but I didn't shed a tear for him. I cried for my daughter, for our broken family and my stupidity because I chose a man who threw our whole marriage away for a squalid quickie. I still care about him, but he messed me up pretty badly. My parents still don't know. My sister wanted me to fill them in, but I decided to wait. My husband's friend called, telling me he called him yesterday evening after I was gone and he was a mess, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I'll take it slowly from here. My sister insists that I call a lawyer, but I still need time to process. I'll keep you updated. Story 5, AITA for ditching my husband in another country after finding out the extent of his cheating. My F47 husband, M49, and I, along with our 3 daughters, F17, F14, F10, moved to Malaysia because his financial services firm transferred him there. The whole benefits package, free first-class flights, household help, paid for private school, extra stipend on top of usual USD salary, involved with him helping lead a team there for his global company, seemed too good to pass up at the time. But the glamour of it all faded very quickly. I have been having reservations of being in this expat bubble, but had only been focused on how I felt the lifestyle was changing my kids, and the kids of the other American/British families we socialized with. I grew up working class, so it was very disconcerting to see teenaged, or even younger, kids of expats act like they're a band of elites run the world, and to the locals who are their maids, drivers, nail salon workers, etc. visibly fear because if the kids decide to make them their verbal punching bags, they would have to endure it to feed their families. I was in denial about how being expats has changed my husband. At first it was little things like him telling me to eat dinner without him since he's going to be working late, and then passive-aggressive put-downs about how I dress, my hair, our sex life, etc. I started suspecting he was cheating when he missed half of a school event and he was unreachable at his office. He then stumbled into the event looking lost and got very defensive about it. He's been moving assets abroad for some time now, and he's even been pressuring me to put our house on the market, saying we could buy a new, better house later. I just no longer trusted him enough to give up the single biggest anchor I had back home, especially when it would be exchanged for money that my husband would deposit or invest in his self-proclaimed expert ways. So I ended up hiring a private investigator, and long story short, I found out he's been seeing a local woman. The relationship was serious enough that he got a luxury apartment for her that very few people on a local salary would be able to afford. I bided my time until I took an opportunity to look into his WhatsApp messages. I found out she's been talking about nausea. He asked if it was the flu, and she said she doesn't think so. He replied saying he loves her no matter what happens. I was so furious and did not want an explanation. I've seen soon-to-be ex-wives who were steps away from poverty because their husbands masterminded the finances and they were in a foreign country. I had no longer had any way of spending money without my husband knowing, spend the last of the money I stashed on the investigator, so I asked a relative to book plane tickets. When my husband was at work, I took the kids and left for our house here. My husband is furious and said I was abandoning our marriage and to get out of his house. The kids are upset because they think our, pretty upper middle class, town here is boring and unglamorous compared to their lives in the expat bubble. Ita. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and hit that subscribe button to follow cheating love stories for more amazing videos. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.